American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you.
Have a safe and happy 4th of July as we commemorate the birth of our nation. A message from the staff of K98 Talk, the leader in Internet radio.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks. Well, it is Wednesday. It is officially hump day. For me, it's actually Thursday because I don't have to work the day job past tomorrow. Thanks to the 4th of July. It's a bit ironic that a couple of days before we celebrate the 4th of July, I am here to tell you that in America, freedom has become a myth. I tell you this for several reasons. Most of which, and we'll actually play a clip about it here in a little bit, but most of which, and I just want to get this out of the way right now. Thanks to this American flag flap up, this will be something that children of this day and age probably never hear again.
You Duke boys, they'll be coming by here just any moment now. I can feel it in my bones. I just can't wait to get...
Rest in peace, James, because no, they won't. They have been pulled from TV land. A classic TV show, one of the iconic TV shows of my childhood, something that I spent hours watching, both live, reruns, pretty much anywhere that I could find it. And it has been pulled because of this whole Confederate flag situation. Now, let me tell you one thing that will never change here. And let me tell you something that I'm going to tell you right now, today, this moment. And I tell you this in all honesty. This is crap. And because of the fact that they are stripping everything that could mean possibly anything, because it may have a Confederate flag associated with it, this is what I have to say to that. That sound will be heard now every time we go into commercial, every time we come out of commercial, and if you don't like it, then turn the damn channel. Because let me tell you something, this was one of the happiest sounds from my childhood. It was a fun show. It was a great show. And it actually showed you how people in the South truly do behave, and it didn't have a damn thing to do with slavery. Neither does that flag. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right now. I had a bit of an epiphany today at work when I realized just how far they're taking this, but they're doing nothing with anything that has anything to do with Nazi memorabilia, anything to do with ISIS flags or symbols. I mean, so let me tell you what I think is honestly going on. The people that are behind this know what that flag truly means. That flag does not represent slavery. That flag represents open rebellion. That flag represents realizing that the government of that time had started trying to step in and tell states how they could live their lives. We are there now again today. So let me tell you the little bit of an epiphany that I had today, and then you can go on about your daily lives. You can tell me that I'm wearing a tinfoil hat, but look at everything that is going on in the news right now. They are talking about banning things like Gone with the Wind because of its affiliation with the Confederacy. They have already pulled Warner Brothers, no longer doing replicas of the General Lee. One of the most iconic cars in history. One of the biggest brands that was used to raise money for charity in history. I found clips over and over again when I was looking for just these little things of Family Feud episodes where they had gone to raise money for charity and all of these other things that they were doing to raise money for charity because of how popular that show was and how much it resonated with America. And you want to tell me now today that none of that matters? Shut up. Sit down and shut up. Some of these people have died. Others are still here. They used the fame that this show brought them, this concept brought them, to do good things. What's next, liberal media? Are you going to start calling for the people that made money from shows like Dukes of Hazzard to pay reparations because it had a Confederate flag on it and was associated with the South? What the hell's the matter with being associated with the South? Let me tell you what's the matter with it. That is a symbol of open rebellion, and they know we are nearly there now. So they are doing everything they can to subliminally smack everybody down who's even remotely thinking that at this point it is about time for us to take control of our government again. A lot of us are still wanting to do it by peaceful means. I personally know a few people on Twitter that wouldn't mind if we picked up arms and did what we had to do. I don't personally think I'm quite there yet. I am getting rather angry, though. So, who knows? 6 months, a year from now, who knows? I mean, at this point, I'm already pretty much on probably some watch list anywhere because I've been screaming and railing against this administration since its inception. So I guess, what the hell. But, and it's not just this, folks. They're attacking people for giving you their opinions and shutting them down for giving you opinions. And the worst thing about it is, one of them, NBC particularly, is doing it as a ratings grab when the simple fact of the matter is, as soon as Donald Trump actually filed the documentation that nobody thought he was going to file, he didn't have a choice. He had already told them he was done with the Apprentice. He doesn't have a choice. He cannot be part of an active media campaign while trying to campaign for president. Now, why it is they decided to take it out on these young women that were doing the Miss America and Miss Universe pageants, or what is his, Miss USA, Miss Universe, I think he's got two. That's something that folks will have to take up with NBC, because I don't really see the point in punishing the contestants because you don't think the guy that runs the pageants can control his mouth. But hey, what do I know? Alright, so let's go ahead and get into that, actually, because I do have a little bit of a clip that I want to play about that, and then we will move on with the show. Reason number one, freedom has now become a myth.
NBC Universal has cut its ties with Donald Trump, citing his derogatory statements, calling Mexican immigrants rapists, drug dealers, and criminals.
Somebody has to come out and tell it like it is.
The real estate mogul stood by those comments before a packed house in Chicago, quoting a report by Fusion, owned by Spanish-language channel Univision and ABC.
They think it's like Mother Teresa's coming across the border, okay? This one says 80% of Central American women and girls are raped crossing into the United States. Well, I said drug dealers, I said killers, and I said rapists.
NBC says it will no longer air the Miss USA or Miss Universe pageants, partly owned by Trump, following a similar step by Univision, which also dumped the event. Trump is threatening to sue.
I'll be suing Univision. Maybe I'll be suing NBC too.
NBC was facing growing pressure to respond, with more than 200,000 people signing on to a petition on change.org calling on the company to dump Trump, and angry protesters denouncing him outside the Chicago event. The reality star and now presidential candidate had already planned to give up his hit show, The Apprentice. Amid the controversy, Trump has been surging in the Republican polls, up to second place in the first primary state of New Hampshire. Oozing confidence in classic Trump style, he touted the latest CNN WMUR poll.
There's a CNN poll just came out, and they have interesting categories. Who's the best on terrorism? That's a pretty important subject. Trump right at the top. Who's the best on handling international trade? Like, not even close. Trump is like almost double anybody else, right? That's incredible.
As for the man besting him in that poll, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, Trump says he's a nice guy who can't win in 2016.
Believe me, he will never, ever in a million years bring you home.
All right, so I don't know if Trump's going to win or not. Honestly, I don't know. I don't really care if Trump wins. I think he's stirring things up well enough, whether he wins or not, that we might actually wind up finding a more conservative candidate. Now, as far as what he said about, the majority of folks coming across the Mexican border illegally are probably drug dealers and rapists and blah, blah, blah. Well, we certainly know one thing, whatever category they're in, they are still technically criminals. So I'm not sure why everybody got so bent out of shape about it, especially when you find another clip later where he actually points out, hey, I have lots of Mexican friends who have come over here and done things the right way, and I'm friends with them, and I do business with them, and I rent apartments to Mexican families all the time. So I'm not saying that all Mexicans are that way. I'm just saying the ones that are sneaking across the border, probably not here for the best of reasons, because otherwise they probably would have come here legally. Is he wrong to say that? Even if he is wrong to say that, he has the right to say it. So why is he facing reprisal? Let that sink in for just a second. We have gotten to the point now where every time anybody associated with a media outlet says something that people don't disagree with, and I'm not talking about the folks that outright lie. I'm talking about the ones that just open their mouths and occasionally funny stuff pops out. Or off-color remarks pop out. Because, let's face it, we're all human. We've all said things that we didn't mean to say. We've all done things that we might not have necessarily meant to do. But because he's in the limelight, and because there's more focus on him being a human and giving you his opinion, all of a sudden that's wrong? I've said it before and I'll say it again, and this is a primary reason why I'm really starting to think that freedom is dead in this country. Freedom of speech does not give you the right to not be offended. Freedom of speech gives you the right to turn the damn channel. But nobody even gives you the option to do that anymore. As soon as anybody becomes even the slightest bit offended, everything goes off the TV. Unless, of course, it has something to do with gay marriage or gay relationships or, all the things that... I mean, dude, can I just be really honest for a second? I really don't give a crap what gay people do in their bedrooms. Homosexuals, male gay people, lesbians, whatever. I don't care. It doesn't impact me. What impacts me is that when 2-3% of the population is all of a sudden now thrust so far to the forefront that you cannot turn on regular TV even at 6-7 o'clock at night without dealing with the token gay person or the token gay couple who are always all over each other. I mean, look, they are a small percentage of society. But here's the thing. How many of us have written into NBC, ABC, CBS, who else ever, and said, look, this is not... Look, maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night. Let me get my children to bed. My younger children. I don't have them anymore, thank God. But I know a lot of people that do. And the TV shows that are on today, in times when those children are going to be able to see them, are causing some very uncomfortable conversations with parents and children. There are certain things that you don't want to have a discussion with your 4- and 5-year-old child about. And before anybody comes unglued, I have gay friends that have said exactly the same thing. When they are in public with one another, they do not behave the way they behave behind closed doors. Because they know that there may be small children somewhere within earshot or eyeshot, and they don't want to make things uncomfortable for other parents. Because they understand that this is not how everyone lives their life, and there may be small children around, and they don't want to have to make things uncomfortable for anyone else. Now, I don't understand why that's so hard for everybody else to get, but at the same time, if all of this flap can be brought up about the Confederate flag, and now all of a sudden everything that has anything to do with the Confederate flag is being removed, even classic TV shows, why is it that the hetero community who basically, and I know we've done this because I've talked to people who have done it, who have written into TV folks and said, look, we understand that you guys are wanting to make people understand that being gay is the new normal. But does it have to be everywhere? We're completely ignored. But these people can throw a big fit about a piece of cloth, and all of a sudden everything to do with it is gone. All of a sudden, everything to do with it is gone. Now, even Macy's has come out and said that they've pulled all of Trump's merchandise from their stores. If you listen to Trump, he says he told them to do it. They said they did it. I don't care who did it. Simple fact of the matter is, again, the man is being punished for being honest. We keep telling people, and we keep telling our politicians, we don't want you to lie to us, we want you to be honest, and yet when they're honest, we punish them. He said what he meant, and he meant what he said. And yet now we're holding him to a standard we don't hold ourselves to. This is my point. This is the point I bring up every time stupid crap like this happens. I am tired of the hypocrisy. If we can look ourselves in the mirror every day and say, look, I'm not perfect, I make mistakes, I do things that I shouldn't do, blah, 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 then we should be able to do the same thing to the people that we elect. Isn't that the same thing you guys used to say about Clinton? All of you liberals, and yeah, I know you're out there, I know you're listening, I know you do, so don't even try to pretend that you don't. The simple fact of the matter is that was all I heard for months, is how this affair, or whatever you want to call it, did not impact his ability as a president, and it should not have been an issue. Let me tell you what the issue was. If he would have went before Congress and said, this is a personal, private matter between myself and my wife, and we will resolve it there, so I have no comment. That would have been all he ever needed to say for me to be satisfied. If he would have done that, then it would have shown me that, hey, he's admitting that he did something without making it worse and letting the world know, hey, this is something that my wife and I need to deal with. That would have been acceptable for me. But you can't expect not to be under scrutiny when you live in a fishbowl. This is the same excuse you guys are using to attack Donald Trump right now for actually telling you what he believes to be the truth. And yet, because you don't like what he said, you shut it down. This is my point. Free speech is only alive in this country if you like what the people say. And before anybody starts going, oh, Rick, that's just on the liberal side. No, it's not. Our side does it too. Our side does it almost as much as they do it. The only difference is we don't get as big of a group going about it, so not as many people see it. But I see it and I hear it, and then I have to tell you, it pisses me off even more when we do it than when they do it, because we're the ones that rail about it the most, and then when we have a chance to actually be like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to let myself get offended by this one. We do it anyway. I mean, how many times during the Bush administration did we attack people for giving their opinions that were liberal and tell people that they were stupid and blah, blah, blah. Look, I'm done with the name calling. This is the point that we need to understand, and we need to understand it now. At this point, this country is done. This country is over. This country is no more, and it's all been happening under our watch while we've been watching and not paying attention. This country, as we know it, ceased to exist when the TPA vote passed. And unless we do something about it, that will be the date that the epitaph gets placed on. Because our freedoms are done. If you don't believe me that our freedoms are done, you look at everything that's been happening all around that. Since that happened, you tell me that something has not changed. Someone somewhere put on the accelerator, and all of a sudden we don't have free speech anymore. Because if we say something and somebody don't like it, oh, it's gone. Or you're gone. All right, so I ran through the break. I usually take one about 15 after, but I got a little riled up. So I want to give a shout-out again to our newest sponsor, concealandcarry.net. Again, pretty easy to find. It's www.thewordconceal, the letter N, then the word carry, then .net. They're actually a nationwide network of gun, ammo, and training retailers for your shooting pleasure. So make sure you go check them out. Again, no matter where you are, they have stuff near you. So just click on your state, see what they have available, and go check them out because it's a really cool organization, and I am honored to now be considered at least affiliated with them. So I do encourage you to go check them out. Now, yeah, because we're still going to have to take at least the half-hour break because I completely blew through the other one. All right, so let's go ahead and play this because this is actually going to run for quite a few minutes, but I want to play the whole thing.
Developing tonight, new fallout and the growing backlash over the Confederate flag. In the week since the Charleston church shooter was seen posing with the symbol, stores have stopped selling it, states have ordered it taken down, and now more things are coming under fire, like the movie Gone with the Wind. Trace Gallagher live in our West Coast newsroom with the story. Trace?
Megan, this debate is no longer just about flying the Confederate battle flag. Now, apparently, it's inappropriate to sell it, to print it, or in some cases, show it at all. Sears, Kmart, Google, Amazon, and eBay have now joined Walmart in refusing to sell Confederate flag merchandise, with Walmart saying, quote, at times, items make their way into our assortment improperly. This is one of those instances. The statement failed to mention that it's been selling Confederate merchandise for quite some time. The feds are also getting out of the Confederate flag business, pulling all related items from National Park Service gift shops. And Warner Brothers now says it will no longer produce replicas of the General Lee, you know, the iconic car in the Dukes of Hazzard that bore the Confederate flag. Warner Brothers also owns Gone with the Wind. And now a movie critic from our cousin publication, the New York Post, says the movie, which prominently displays the Confederate flag, is a, quote, racist artifact, and Warner Brothers should relegate it to a museum. Apple is also removing apps and video games that use the Confederate flag in a, quote, mean-spirited way, though Gone with the Wind is still available on iTunes. And while some online retailers are cracking down on Confederate merchandise, Nazi merchandise, we should note, is still readily available. Megan.
Trace, good to see you. Well, one of the stars of the Dukes of Hazzard is now speaking out in support of the Confederate flag, and he's getting a lot of flack for it.
Well, Cooter, what do you think?
Well, y'all ain't no doubt about it. You got big trouble here. How long's he been crawling like this?
Well, it started yesterday when we tried to push him over 150. It stalled right out at 125.
Well, y'all, what you got here is a sad, sick car with a dried-out, busted bear.
Joining me now, Ben Jones, better known as Cooter from the Dukes of Hazzard. And he was also a Democratic congressman. Ben, thank you for being here. And so I know you have a chain of stores. You guys sell the Confederate flag. And you say, I'm not stopping. Why?
I'm not stopping because the 70 million Americans, 70 million Americans are descended from the Confederacy. And they are our people, our flesh and blood. I was also associated with that show, which 30 million people watched every week, including a whole lot of black folks who still love it, who enjoy it and understand that flag in that positive context. I think that the 70 million descendants who still respect our ancestors for what they did in the context of their times, and with the great progress that we have made in the South, black and white working together, and I was deeply involved in the civil rights movement, and with the 30 million now, hundreds of millions of people who love and enjoy the Dukes of Hazzard every day all over the world outweighs that handful of pin-headed, bigoted racists who have created so much trouble in this country. And I also am deeply concerned that this tsunami of cultural cleansing, this piling on, this almost hysteria, is going to really damage the tremendous progress that we've made in racial relations in the South.
But how do you get to the point of calling those who are offended by the flag flag racist and bigoted.
No, I'm not calling them that at all. I hope I didn't say that. No, the people who are causing all the trouble are not black folks. They're those so-called white supremacists like this fool that this evil human being
so
that murdered those people.
You feel they've co-opted a flag that to you means what? What does it mean to you?
It means a lot of things. Certainly, you know, 1 million men, including in my entire male family from that period, fought for the South. They were some of the most valorous men who ever took up arms. In their time, in their context, they believe they were fighting for their nation. Slavery had existed in this country since 1619. It existed under the American flag from 1776 until 1865. It was not the Southern sin, it was the national sin. Edward Baptist's book, The Half Has Never Been Told, will show you, and the subtitle is How Slavery Built the American Capitalism. Wall Street was created by the slave trade. The profits went north, the cotton went north. And yet the scapegoat is my grandfather's flag, which has been shown in a number of contexts, almost all of them positive. We despise these evil, I almost said bastards, who desecrate our flag with their hateful rituals.
Cooter, good to see you.
Thank you for having me on there.
Thanks for offering your thoughts tonight. We appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I love how at the end there he says, "Oops, I almost said bastards." You kind of just said it again. Okay, so sorry, as you can tell, I'm a little bit under the weather. My allergies have been kicking my butt. But anyway, too many things going on to not do a show. So I'm still here. I'm still plugging. I'm still kicking. Now, at this point, I think we are actually probably about to go ahead and take a break, and then we will basically continue with the remainder of the show because there's still a lot left. We've still got about a half an hour to go. All right, folks, as we go to break, I have a question. Are you in the market for a dependable used vehicle? Because if so, I know somewhere you need to check out today. They're located in Pryor, Oklahoma. It is Roberts Auto Chevy, Roberts Auto Dodge, and Roberts Ford Lincoln. They're, again, located in Pryor. They have over 2,000 vehicles available between the three lots. And if they don't have what you're looking for, they can and will find it for you if possible and still give you the best deal available. Call Ryan today at 918-693-2866. Again, that's Ryan, 918-693-2866. And tell him Rick from K98 Talk sent you, and they'll even give you a better deal. Can't beat that, folks. We'll be right back.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
This is Misty, owner of Wax It Studio in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I'm here to talk to you about a skincare product called Theramedics. Theramedics has a wonderful line of products from anti-aging to hyperpigmentations all the way to acne. In fact, everyone at some point in our life is affected by acne. Acne can cause a great deal of embarrassment and anxiety, and in order to prevent and help other people, I have tapped into this wonderful product called Theramedics. Visit my website at www.prettyskindeep.com. Again, that's www.prettyskindeep.com.
While enjoying the 4th of July with family and friends, take K98 Talk with you, your constant companion on your mobile devices and the Internet. Stay connected and informed while enjoying a safe holiday. This has been a message from your friends at K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. And like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
For our own cause, we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political courageous will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, bless you, pray Jesus Christ.
All right, folks, we're back. We're live. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson, and we have been railing against what used to be freedom of speech and what I now firmly believe in this country, freedom is a myth. Now, I say this because, again, as a reminder, in the last several weeks, the last few days, we've seen this whole big Confederate flag flap up and all of this stuff that's being pulled from the shelves, TV shows being removed, General Lee no longer in production, everything associated with the South gone with the wind. They want that ban. I mean, what are we gonna do next? Are we gonna start banning the Confederate music? I mean, what are they gonna ban this next? Yep, and it's not playing for me. Go figure. Aha! Gotcha. Okay. Are they gonna? I mean, what's next? We're not gonna be allowed to play this. Because I gotta tell you, this thing's probably gonna play at least 2 or 3 times a show for now until the end of time, or the end of time, because this is crazy. I mean, I spent some of my best childhood memories sitting in front of a TV watching that show. Granted, as I got a little older, the concept of the memories changed, and I started having inappropriate thoughts about Catherine Bachman, but hey, that's a story for another show. But still, there's like an entire TV show that is just gone. So, again, poor Sheriff Roscoe.
You Duke boys, you'll be coming by here just any moment now. I can feel it in my bones. I just can't wait to get...
Sorry, Roscoe, you won't be getting them anymore, because you guys probably won't air anywhere in this country for a very long time, because freedom is dead. Do you realize that the fact that they're willing to pull down a TV show over this, I mean, come on, I get the Duggars thing. You know, whatever those people are, they shouldn't make any money. But we're talking about a show that has been around for decades. A fictional show. An entertainment show. It wasn't like these people were trying to profit by pretending to be something that they aren't in real life. These people were profiting by using a talent. I mean, so what's going to happen? Are the writers of the shows, that if any of them are still alive, are they going to have to pay reparations? Is Warner Brothers going to have to give back the money that it made from all of the General Lee replicas? Somehow I don't think so. Are they going to give back all the money they made on the recent, yes, dare I say recent, remake of the Dukes of Hazzard? You know, it wasn't that long ago. It's been a few years, but it damn sure wasn't the 70s. Where was the outcry then? What about GTA 4? You know, where there's a cheat or an ability for you to actually be driving around the General Lee. You know they had to buy the rights to use that car. You know they did. So are Warner Brothers, are they going to give back all that money now? because it's tainted money? I mean, how far is this stupidity going to go? You're telling me that a Confederate flag can no longer be owned in America, but we can still buy Nazi paraphernalia. You know, there's a disturbing parallel there, because the Nazi stuff is banned in Germany, but you can still buy it here. I almost bet you that one of the biggest reasons everybody's flapping their gums about it is because since they can't get the Nazi stuff there because it's been banned, their next biggest symbol as far as they're concerned is the Confederate flag, because they misunderstood what the fight was about. You know what? I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative, but I will go toe-to-toe, tooth and nail with anybody over this. You cannot tell me that in the beginning phases of the Industrial Revolution that slavery was not already on the way out the door. You don't believe me? Do some historical digging of your own before they take it away, because it's still there for you to find it. The prominent generals in the South had already freed their slaves a year to 2 years before the war, almost down to almost every single one of them. You know who still had slaves after the war? Do you want to look it up, or do you want me to tell you? It was Grant. When he was asked why even after the war he still had his slaves when everybody else was starting to set theirs free, oh, good help was so hard to find. The ships that everybody was complaining about that were bringing the slaves over, what flag were they flying? Was it the Northern flag or the Southern flag? Anybody want to hazard a guess? Lincoln, if not for his assassination, his plan was to deport and remove every freed slave from the continent. You tell me that there's not more going on here that we need to know, because we missed something somewhere along the way when our history got whitewashed. And yes, I said whitewashed. Because there has been a movement behind the scenes for decades, if not longer, to start pushing everything towards what everybody thinks is eventually going to happen. If they have read the Bible or the Quran or whatever book of choice there is always an end times. There has been a group pushing things in that direction for a very, very, very long time. And they've put on the gas, folks. They have stepped on the accelerator, because you look at how quickly we have gone from the shining beacon to the rest of the world to the laughing stock. Our enemies don't fear us anymore. They could care less what the hell we do, because they know we don't have any teeth anymore. Our politicians don't care about us at home, because they know that we're going to keep voting for them. I mean, you explain to me the relevance of the fact that a body such as Congress can have the lowest approval ratings ever before this last election cycle, but pretty much everybody, if they were asked what their home representative was doing, oh yeah, he's great, he's doing a great job. But them as a whole, yeah, they suck. When the person that you're voting for is part of the group that you're saying sucks, then there's probably a good chance that they suck. I mean, I honestly don't know what to do anymore. I'm watching the country implode, and I feel like there's absolutely nothing that I can do about it. I write, I speak, I get involved, I help with groups whenever I can, when I know they're there. I do what I can. I do what I can because I feel like I have to. But at this point, I think we are about out of time. I'm not saying I'm going to give up. I'm not saying I'm going to quit swinging. I'm not saying even if I go down that I'm not going to go down fighting. But I am saying that at this point, we are about to the last round. And we are getting our asses handed to us on a daily basis on every single issue. Because we have allowed the indoctrination of our youth. Look up Cloward and Piven. Look at the planks of socialism and capitalism and communism. We're here. If you ask anybody below the age of 30 what they think of communism, they think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Bernie Sanders has one of the highest approval ratings of anybody on the Democratic side right now, which granted, slim pickings over there, but he's still doing really, really well. And he's a flippin' socialist. We're about to possibly have the chance to swear in someone who has to take an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States while he's doing everything he can to subvert it. Much like this current president, who took the same damn oath. And yet we are not holding him accountable. We're not holding him accountable. We're not holding our elected representatives accountable. We're not holding the president accountable. We're not holding ourselves accountable. I blame us all. And yes, I said us because I blame myself. There were too many years that I was complacent, that I was out chasing the money, and I was out buying the stuff that I wanted to buy, and getting the nice big screen TVs, and doing this and doing that, because that was what I was told the American dream was. Buy stuff, buy more stuff, make sure you've got everything you could ever possibly want, and you'll be happy. The problem is, at some point along the way, I started waking up, and I realized that no matter how much crap I own, I still have to leave a world to my children. And then I had to start thinking to myself, do I want to leave a world to my children where they have the freedom to choose what it is that they want to do with their lives? Or do I want to leave a world to my children where they are stuck, where they are pigeonholed? Where basically they have to do what the government tells them that they have to do for every second of every day. And I tell you today, we are nearly there. They have the control they need with Obamacare, with the free cell phones, with the fact that we have so many people on food stamps right now, more people than we've ever had in our history on food stamps right now, more people on unemployment right now. Yes, I know it's a state benefit, stop rolling your eyes, but it's still a government dole. If you really stopped to add up all of the programs that we have so many different people on that are on them right now, you would realize that over 50% of our population is on some form of federal benefit. Let that sink in for a second. We keep talking about how we're getting near the tipping point. I tell you today, folks, we have passed it. We have passed it because we have the low information voter. And what's even worse is we have people that are highly educated, that are still trying to completely tear apart anything that this country once represented. It saddens me, especially this close to Independence Day. This close to the day that basically signifies the day that we took our rights as a nation, and we basically... I mean, nobody thought we were going to win that war. Can we just be real for a second? Nobody that was around in that time thought we were going to win that war. They stood up anyway because they felt they had to. Because they couldn't live with the way the government back home in England was treating them any longer. Now, I tell you today that D.C. may be geographically a lot closer than England, but politically speaking, we're about an ocean apart. And I'm speaking to you liberals that listen too. They do not hold our best interests to heart anymore. They do not do what they say they're going to do when we vote for them. They tell us what we want to hear, and then they do what they want when they get there. I can count the number of people that are honestly still trying to fight the good fight in D.C. across both sides of the aisles, and still have a couple of fingers left. Out of how many total representatives? So you tell me again that we still have freedom in this country. We have a ruling class that tells us what we need when we need it. Tells us that in order for us to understand what Obamacare is, we have to pass it to find out what's in it. Then what's really funny, and not funny in the ha-ha way, funny in I want to punch him in the face way. After Ryan, in the 2012 debates, kept bringing up repeatedly how idiotic Nancy Pelosi sounded when she kept saying, and yes, I know there was words in front of it, but the soundbite kept saying, we have to pass Obamacare to find out what's in it. All of a sudden, we have a Republican-controlled Congress. There's all of this secrecy, all of this backroom downstairs dealing when it comes to TPA, TPP. Nobody really knows what's in it because only a handful of people can see it. Even the aides that were allowed to go down there just to accompany the folks still couldn't go through the door, but they still had to have high-level clearances to even get down that far. So what does Ryan say? We have to pass TPP to find out what's in it. So what was completely asinine when Nancy Pelosi said it was genuine genius when you said it. Is that what you're trying to tell me? You know, we can keep making fun of each side and we can keep talking about what an idiot McCain is and how Hillary Clinton is basically the grandma of the race. Or we can focus on the fact that none of these people matter. Is what we do. We have to decide. We have to decide what we are going to do with our lives. Are we going to continue to try to keep up with the Joneses and watch the world continue to fall apart? Or are we going to find a way to peacefully take back our country? I'm not asking for a lot. I'm not asking to go back to gay people not having the same rights that we have. I think they should have had those a long time ago. It's not my place to judge you. I am asking to go back to it not being flaunted on TV every 5 seconds. Much like I would prefer that there's not quite so much straight making out on TV every 5 seconds, because I still, when I had younger children, didn't want to have that conversation every other time I turned on a TV. But we live in a society that has to push the envelope. We also live in a society, and as a species, we like to overreact and make things a lot worse than they are. And I think that is exactly what is going on with this whole Confederate flag situation. When you have people of all colors coming together on both sides of an argument, there's a problem with that. I have a problem with the fact that there were just as many people of color that I heard that were standing up saying, look, I'm not going to let a piece of cloth offend me. Heck, I grew up in the South. It's a part of my heritage. I grew up here. Grouchy, the conservative curmudgeon, whose show will be on here in just a few minutes. Sadly, it will not be live, but it will be on because he's going out of town for the 4th. He grew up in the South. Confederate flags were common in the South because of what they represented. They represented a part of the history. It's the same thing that we're going through here in Oklahoma with the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments don't necessarily represent the 10 Commandments. They represent the foundation of our legal system. And yet we have a court that has now decided we can't have those very things that constitute our legal system cannot be on the steps of a courthouse. I tell you, it's all part of the same problem. We are so worried about making sure that we don't offend anybody anymore that nobody gives a damn when anybody else gets offended anymore, because all you're doing is running around putting out fires. Well, we're going to yank this and we're going to yank that, and this makes this group happy, but what about the people that you just pissed off because you yanked it? Screw them. They're old. They'll get over it. Or they're behind the times. just don't understand anymore. I especially don't understand the yanking of a TV show. What's next? Are you gonna burn all the tapes? Or are we gonna go through and start burning any books that have Confederate flags on them? You know they're there. Are we gonna burn the album covers from bands like Alabama? You know, that have Confederate flags on at least a few of their album covers. I can think of at least one or two. Are those going to be removed next? While we're on this stupidity kick, I have a question. When are we going to demolish the pyramids? The pyramids are historically significant. They're deemed one of the 7 wonders of the world. But they were built by a race of slave owners, aka the Egyptians. So when are we going to demolish the pyramids? We need to raise them from the face of the earth, because they are a monument to an oppressive regime. They are a monument to an oppressive people, and they should be removed. For those of you that are laughing right now, that are looking at your device, whether it's a phone, computer, some of you can actually listen to us on cars because of the wireless connection, so I'm not sure how you're listening. I know you are, and some of you are laughing right now. But how stupid you just think I sounded? It's exactly how you sound to us when you start flapping your gums about a flippin' piece of cloth. There were people just like our flag who fought, bled, and died for what that flag represented. And you tell me you have the audacity, the gall, the nerve to say that it should be removed from history. There are two sides to every story. And I tell you right now, we have not gotten the entire story when it comes to the Civil War. Because I am a history buff. I read pretty much anything I can find about history. And I will tell you, there were things that I did not know until I actually started looking into this, because of how different everything truly is when you start actually doing your own research. Not from school books where they handpick everything, multiple sources. The sad thing about history is it's written by the winners. Which means ultimately you typically find the truth by reading more than one source and learning to look between the lines. And I tell you right now that there was more going on with our Civil War than we are ever going to know. But I tell you now, the fact that we are scrubbing things like this from our history and removing them from our history is only going to make it so much more so, and so much quicker that we repeat the same scenarios. And if you don't believe me, you look at race relations in this country right now. We have the first black president. Well, second black president, because apparently Clinton was voted the first honorary black president. And yet race relations are worse now than they've ever been. And before anybody starts talking about how many times I have downed Obama, I have never once said anything about that man that had anything to do with the color of his skin. Everything that I have said about President Barack Obama has everything to do with the content of his character. Or at least his outward depiction of his content of character. I don't know him well enough to know how he is behind closed doors. What I know is when he is in public, he is arrogant, he is condescending, and he treats people like they don't matter. When you put someone that has never done anything significant in their lives in this position of power, you get disastrous results. Because he runs to everybody that he's ever talked to and hung around and said, I need your help because I don't know what I'm doing. You know, everybody talks about how Bush was Cheney's meat puppet. I don't know if he was or he wasn't, to be completely honest. What I do know is that Obama is Valerie Jarrett's meat puppet. And Valerie Jarrett is somebody else's meat puppet. And I'm sure behind whoever's pulling her strings and his strings and the other guy's strings, there's at least one other person, probably somewhere, pulling everybody's strings. Because this crap has become too well orchestrated. While we weren't paying attention. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this particular episode of America Off the Rails. I am your host, Rick Robinson. I will be back with you tomorrow live right here. Same bat time, same bat channel. Hopefully, maybe at some point this weekend or this week, I can get some hope back. Because I got to tell you, right now, I got very little. But we're going to keep swinging, folks. I'll be back with you tomorrow.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.